In this video, I want to talk about managing two different conditions or a number of different conditions and how that can be really difficult to balance the needs of those different conditions. For example, I have chronic illness and some mental health challenges, and I often find that the needs of those can clash and make it really, really difficult to balance what I do to look after myself. And I've recently been diagnosed with autism as well. And over the last couple of weeks, I've noticed how the needs of my autism are really, really clashing with the needs of my chronic illness. And that's what I want to talk about today. Hey folks, it's Finn. Welcome back, lovely people. Thank you so much for choosing to spend time with me again today. It is lovely to see you. And if you are choosing to spend time with me today for the very first time, if you've stumbled upon one of my videos and chosen to watch, then thank you very, very much. That's really kind. I hope you enjoy what you see today, and if you do, please consider subscribing because it does really, really help. And this chap that's currently spark out on his back, if you've not met him before, is Captain Pip Digby. He has absolutely no dignity whatsoever. Sorry. So yes, today I want to talk about how managing complex conditions can be really challenging to balance all the different symptoms and the different needs without them clashing. Now, this isn't the very first time I've been aware of this. I've made a video about this in a similar way before, where I spoke about how I find it really difficult to manage my chronic illness needs and my mental health needs. So I have ME, CFS and POTS, and I also have some mental health challenges. I have anxiety and depression, and I often find it really, really difficult to manage my mental health needs and my chronic illness needs. So for example, I really need to be in nature for my mental health, next to the sea and watching the sea move, or being in nature and just breathing in the trees, and that makes me feel so good. But my limited energy with my ME and my lack of mobility means that it's not always good for me to get out. It can really drain me and make my symptoms worse. So I'm often between a rock and a hard place. I either stay in and my mental health dips because I'm stuck at home, or I go out and I breathe in the fresh air, but then I've used too much energy and I have a symptom flare. So I often have to sacrifice one in order to benefit the other. And this is really, really hard to balance. It's really hard. I've described it as juggling jelly. And that is how it feels a lot of the time. Managing complex, coexisting conditions is like juggling jelly. Now, I've recently been diagnosed with autism, and it's not, of course, like the symptoms of my autism have appeared overnight, but it's like I'm now seeing what I thought was anxiety and so on is actually autism. I'm reclassifying everything I'm experiencing at the moment. I'm very much in this stage of early diagnosis realization where I'm going, okay, that isn't this, that's actually autism. That isn't that, that's actually autism. Because if you've watched my previous videos, you'll know that I was actually misdiagnosed. I'm 51 and I've just been diagnosed with autism. Because for so many years it's been palmed off as anxiety and depression. And whilst I am anxious and I do get periods of low mood, that has very much come from my autism, my autistic needs not being met, autistic burnout, and all of these things. So what's happened over the last couple of weeks is that poor Chris, my partner, his mum had a fall and fractured her back. She's okay. She's okay now, thank goodness. But Chris got called away. She lives miles and miles away. And it was a rock and a hard place decision whether I went with him or stayed here. And with her in hospital, with this chronic condition, I'm also on steroids because I have polymyalgia. And so I catch anything going. So I have to be very careful. So there's no point me going up there really and going anywhere near a hospital, which I wouldn't go anywhere near a hospital anyway. There's nothing really I can do up there. And having to move myself and the puppy, and it was more sensible that I stayed here. It was a no-win situation with me really. It was going to be difficult if I went with him and difficult if I stayed. So it was decided that the lesser of two evils was I stayed, thinking that Chris would be able to get things sorted pretty quick. Unfortunately, it didn't work out like that. So he went up to stay and look after his mum. And a week turned into 2 weeks. Now, I can speak openly about this now because he's home and he's okay. And I've had to kind of keep it in to make sure he was okay because I didn't want to worry him. But I've been an absolute utter wreck, an absolute utter complete total wreck. I'm so aware that I don't deal with routine changes at all. I like structure, I like routine. And with him gone, my routine went out the window and I felt so absolutely, completely and utterly lost. And it wasn't like I could even build a new routine because my brain was going, well, he's coming back, so you can't build a new routine. And it was all the other things as well, because of course trying to look after myself when Chris does so much for me. I can't cook for myself. Chris does all the cooking. I cook once in a blue moon. I mean, me and Chris just have this really symbiotic routine between us now, where we each know what we can do. I know what I can manage and at what speed, and I do the things that I can manage. He does everything else, and it works. We don't even think about it now. So there was that aspect of it, for sure. So that practical aspect. But then there was the autistic aspect of just like, not just my routine, but like how Chris fits into it. Like he works from home 4 days a week and is in the office 1 day a week. And I'm just used to even the annoying interruptions that I don't like that happen during my routine. And having lunch with him that I know that he's going to finish and then he's going to come and make dinner and I'm going to sit in a certain position and watch him cook dinner. It's just so much to explain. But I just fell apart. And I don't really have meltdowns. I have melt-ins. I literally fall inside like... You know, you see those, I don't know what you call it. Those kind of animations where things like fall inside themselves till they get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and disappear. It's like that. That's what happens for me when something goes wrong. It's like that. It's like everything just like collapses in on itself until it gets smaller and smaller. And then I just end up sitting there in this state of just frozenness. And I can't do anything. And I ended up like that so often, just sat on the sofa staring at this wall, and then hours would go past. And if I didn't have him, I don't quite know what I would do, because obviously he makes me get up and open the door or for a toilet, or make me get up and feed him. And I was just made very much aware of my autism for the first time, I think, just how aware I was just how much I needed that structure. It was just one of those times. There's been a number of times over this last year where I've been very aware of my word. There's autism, hello, and it was one of those times where I was like, oh my goodness, it's really there. But I think what's really struck me is like how difficult it then made it for me to get help, because I was suddenly very overwhelmed, very insular. I just suddenly just didn't want anyone near me because I struggle with social interaction anyway, but I'm able to do it in a certain way when I'm okay and supported and I feel all right. But in this state, I don't. I should say, by the way, Chris is home now. Luckily, we had enough food in the house. Chris batch cooked, so we had enough food in. But it was getting to a point where I did need some things. So I was using far too much energy and going down the shops and getting stuff. And Chris said, we could ask the neighbours. But this is where my autism and ME was clashing, because I needed to ask for some help, but my autism wasn't allowing me. And even if I could ask for help, say, can you come round and help me? My autism wouldn't have let me open the front door. Now, you could say, okay, get a stranger to, like a Tesco delivery to bring you, other suppliers do exist, to bring you food round. I can't cope with that because there's this man at the front door, or a woman, at the front door, and they talk to you whilst trying to unload all the shopping in your porchway, and it's just too hectic, too much. Can't do that. Absolutely not happening. No, that's not happening. The other option is the neighbour upstairs, who we do kind of know, and she's nice. But then I was just like, I can't do it, because then she's going to knock at the door, she's going to hand me stuff, I'm going to have to speak to her. I'm going to have to do all the social niceties, which I don't like doing anyway. I hate the hi, how are you? I'm fine. Yeah, I'm fine. What have you been up to? Yeah. God, I just hate doing it. I absolutely hate doing it. And, with the unmasking that's been happening, it's getting even harder to do now. I'm unmasking. It's really, really hard. And with how I felt with Chris gone, it was just so overwhelming to even think about trying to do that. I was just like, I can't. So like my chronic illness was like, I really need someone to pick up some large bottles of water, the stuff that I can't pick up on my own on my wheelchair. But my autism was like, I can't open the front door to them. I just can't do it. A friend of mine said, well, just ask them if they can leave it at the front door. And I guess this is what it's making me aware of now, that I've been much better since I've been chronically ill at asking for help. But with the autism side of things, it almost feels like it's harder because you're asking in a way that's not socially acceptable. You're saying to people, can you help me? Can you bring me some shopping round? But I'm not going to talk to you. And I think that's why it feels weird, because most people would be like, oh yeah, I can bring you some shopping round. And it would just seem normal to them that they'd think you'd want some company, that they'd come in for a quick cup of tea. But I want to say to people, yes, I'd love you to bring me some shopping round, but when you get to the front door, can you just ring the doorbell and then go away and tell me when you're away, and then I'll open the front door and get it. Because that's what I want. That's what I want, that's what I need. That's what my nervous system needs to sort it, to be okay. I could not, over those 2 weeks, have dealt with trying to manage the social niceties of opening the front door and smiling and saying, thank you, would you like to come in for a cup of tea? Or even just coping with a minute conversation on the door. I wouldn't have been able to. It would have exhausted me more. It used less energy to get on my wheelchair and go down to the shop than it would have done to open that front door and interact with a human being. And this is what's really struck me this week, to notice this, that I've got the chronic illness energy going on, but I've also got the autism overload going on, that my routine's gone, my structure's gone, my safe person's gone, so I'm in like super kind of hyper sensitive mode, so I can't have people talk to me because it's just like everything just fires off and I just no. And it's just been a week of really 2 weeks of really being so aware of like how these two things clash. Like chronic illness wants help, but my autism won't let me ask for it or open the door if it arrives. So I need to think of a way in the future of a plan if this ever happens. That's what me and Chris have been talking about. We need to find a plan because our neighbour did eventually help. Chris just messaged her and said, look, Finn really needs some stuff. He's too afraid to ask because actually what he needs you to do is drop it at the door. And bless her heart, she did just do that. She dropped it at the door. She sent me a text and said there's some shopping outside your door. And it was lovely. And actually once she did it once, it felt like it would be more manageable to do it again. But luckily then Chris came home. So yeah, I've just got to be okay with actually just asking for those kind of needs to be met in a way that doesn't feel very normal. It feels okay to say, I've got chronic illness, could you please help me? But it doesn't feel as normal to say, I've got chronic illness, can you help me by getting me stuff and not talking to me? Oh dear. It's been such a tough couple of weeks. It really has. Luckily, we have a really good dog walker, so she's walked him and worn him out. I have taken him out more than usual on my own and worn him out more than my own. Luckily, I have Visible, so I've been able to like keep an eye on how much I'm doing and not go over too much. So I've not crashed awfully. It's been all right. Luckily, we've moved, so where I am, I can get myself to the shops and I can be a bit more independent, so that's been all right. So, you know, it's not been as horrendous as it could have been, but it's just shone a light on some stuff. But I'll tell you this, the positive side of this, right, what's come out of this over this last couple of weeks that's really, really good is my level of self-kindness. And that is because if this had happened before I'd got my autism diagnosis, I would have beat myself up. I would have gone, just go out, Finn. Just ask your neighbour to come down and suck it up. Have them come in. Have them sit with you and have a cup of tea. And I would have just sat there and been stressed and got myself overwhelmed. With the routine stuff, I would have gone, it's just a routine. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Come on, shake yourself out of it. But the difference now is as soon as Chris went and I started to feel so discombobulated and so weird, I went, this is transitional stuff. This is because of the autism. I'm not transitioning. This is because of the routine change. My brain needs structure. My autistic brain needs structure, okay? Right, I'm going to be gentle. I'm not going to worry about this for a couple of days. I'm adjusting. And then I'm going to just try and bring in some kind of gentle structure because my brain needs structure. I'm autistic. My brain thrives on structure. That's what it needs. No need to beat myself up. This is understandable. I'm going to try and find some kind of gentle structure in the meantime. My nervous system is in fight or flight right now because I'm in sensory overload. So the last thing I'm going to do is force myself to have people round. It does make sense to have people around, of course it does, but I'm autistic and I'm not coping with people at the best of times because it is difficult to have conversations with people, to interact. And right now, because I'm so overloaded, it's going to be even more difficult. So no, I'm not going to force myself. I'm going to get through as best as I can and find other ways around it, and it's okay. And my diagnosis has allowed me to do that. And this is what I decided a year ago when I very first went for this diagnosis. It was for this reason. It was because I was recognising that my chronic illness had been brought about by me forcing and pushing to overcome. Oh, you can get over this anxiety, you can sort it out, you can stop feeling like this. You've just got to keep pushing. Eventually, you'll stop feeling like this. Whereas now I'm going, no. Your body's sending you a signal. It needs this. Give it this. Don't beat yourself up. Give yourself what you need. And this was the very first time I've had that proper feedback that I'm doing the right thing from myself, I mean. In that, you know, that level of compassion and self-kindness has really come into effect this week. I haven't once bullied myself or told myself off. And that feels really lovely to be able to do that. You know, people often say, oh, why do you need a label? Why do you need this diagnosis? This reason. Because given the wrong label can lead people to be really cruel to themselves. I've put myself through program after program of like counselling and blooming anxiety relief and beaten myself up, felt the fear and done it anyway, pushed and pushed and pushed and exhausted myself. And why? You know, I'm autistic. I need structure. I need gentleness. I need to just be me and not force myself to be something I'm not. And look at the difference that has made. That's made 2 weeks that were really, really difficult without Chris easier. Whereas if that had happened pre-diagnosis, it would have been so different. I probably would have exhausted myself by making myself have people round to give me company and help me out, and I'd have just been exhausted from it. It's funny because I was having a kind of debate on my Facebook page with somebody that I put a post up about this, about noticing this new level of self-kindness I'm having, and just how lovely it is that in amongst this real difficult period with Chris being away and how tough it's been, that out of that has come this real kind of acknowledgement of like, wow, I was right in like going for this diagnosis and in acknowledging myself as an autistic person, how I can now be so much kinder. And they were talking about how I was settling by not trying to like overcome my autism, that I should overcome it and push through it, and if I wasn't trying to overcome these traits, I was somehow settling. And I completely disagree, because for me, I'm far from settling. For me, this is like the wisest decision I could ever make to, and it is growth. For me, it's growth to go, these are my needs, and I'm acknowledging my needs now. My needs are to have structure, because that's where my brain works best, and it helps me to be calmer and to work better. My needs are to not push myself to be this overly social person and to interact with people when it's not feeling right. It's better for my nervous system and it's healthier for me. I'm working with my needs, not against them. And it's huge growth for me to realise this. So far from settling, I'm growing every day, and I've grown so much more this year in learning this aspect of myself, that I'm autistic. And I can see like I'm going to have huge growth coming out of this, especially from what I've learned these last 2 weeks, in further deepening now what I need moving forward to improve my health, because this is the first tangible evidence I've got that by taking care of my needs rather than pushing, how I can stay well. Because regardless of how difficult these weeks have been, I've not actually crashed. You know, it's been hard, I've been exhausted and I've had some flares, but I've not properly had an ME crash. So that's proof that like looking after myself, giving myself what I need in an authentic, sustainable way, is far better. That is not settling. That is just looking after myself. So growth isn't always about pushing and pushing. Growth is about recognising what we need. And that can look like all different sorts of things that can look like gentleness and self-kindness. It doesn't have to be beating yourself up and pushing yourself. You know, it can be working with what you've got. So yes, that is a catch up from me this week and what's been going on. And also an explanation as to why there's not been any content over the last couple of weeks, because I have had to just take care of my needs and take care of this fluffy puppy's needs. He needs a haircut, as you can see. We had to cancel his haircut, so he's very extra fluffy. He's such a happy boy, isn't he? I'm so lucky. But yeah, that's why I've been quiet. So I shall now send you this thought bubble, and I have a new tangle, by the way. This is a therapy tangle. It's lovely. It's so chunky and rubbery. It's lovely. I'm still to make my tangle video. I have so many videos to make for you. But yes, I hope this made sense this week to someone. I am going to make a video as well about this thought process around growth, because it's something I'm thinking about. But before I go, as well as saying thank you, as always, for your incredible comments I'm still catching up on, and your patience with me for not having much in the way of content, I want to give a massive thank you and a shout out to a few folks this week. The first one is to Ramona, who I'm not sure I've given a shout out to before, for joining as a Friends of Finn member. A big welcome back to Toby, to our Friends of Finn, and to our newest member, Robin, who has joined via Ko-fi and has also joined us on our Discord Clubhouse. I'm really loving seeing you on there. That's lovely. Don't forget that the Discord is available for all full Friends of Finn members. You don't have to interact on there. It's absolutely fine if you just want to pop in for the kind of behind the scenes stuff and just pop out again. It's always fine. I've also had lots of super thanks, which is amazing. I want to give a thanks to Max Molly, DMacD. I'm going to say it like that because it's DMACD. It might just be initials, but I'm going to say it's DMacD. JEHJ. And Sewing Shay. They've all left me super thanks. I'm incredibly grateful for your super thanks. I just want to say that I do have a Ko-fi page where you can leave donations as well. And on there are videos, like exclusive videos and other exclusive posts. When you leave a donation on Ko-fi, you can access all of those behind the scenes videos for 30 days. So if you want to do that rather than the super thanks, that's an option. I'm just saying that because I always want to give some kind of perk when you leave a donation, and of course I can't leave a perk for a super thanks. So almost any dodgy then. I mean, I'm really grateful. I'm just aware that I'm not able to give you anything other than my love and appreciation. So if anybody would like to just leave a one-off donation and would like something as a perk, then my Ko-fi page, you'll find loads of like little videos, clips, pictures, all random stuff. There's loads of stuff on there, but you get access to all of it for 30 days from your donation. So yes. Talking of donations, I have a lovely donation and message from Claire Jez Chicken and Daphne the Boxer. Thank you very much. And I want to give a shout out to a lovely friend I've made called Katie, who won her Pip appeal. Pip, that's another thing I want to talk about. Oh dear, but don't get me started on that right now. She won her Pip appeal and she bought a electric wheelchair, the same one that I've got, the Quickie Q50 thing. I'm sorry I'm losing the plot because I've been talking for a while. But I want to give you a massive shout out because she's just left me lovely messages, and I know what it's like when you go from kind of being really afraid and not wanting to use a wheelchair and just like all of that kind of like, oh, am I disabled enough to use a wheelchair and what are people going to think? And then you finally get a wheelchair and you go, what have I been thinking? What have I been worried about? This is amazing. And I'm so glad that my video helped you to make that move. And I just want to say happy travels and enjoy every second on it, and I'm really proud of you. So yes. There you go. There's all my shout outs to everyone. Big love to absolutely everybody. Thanks for watching, folks. Have a lovely rest of week and weekend, and I shall see you next week. Take care.